So we should probably let them see some cool things. And we've got a pretty good one to open. So shall we roll the first video?
Can't do anything about that ad that they throw under there. Ooh.
The state of the galaxy, the Dark Angels, the Arcs of Omen series has led to the brink.
What we gonna get? What we gonna get? What we gonna get? Get.
Abaddon has sent out the Arcs of Omen. Vashtor the Archifane is now at large, and Angron is on a rampage.
Yay!
And there's
Angry boy.
one character in the entire galaxy who could stand against Angron. That's the Lion.
Ooh.
Lionel Johnson is the Primarch of the Dark Angels, formerly the Dark Angels Legion, and now he is the returned Primarch of the Dark Angels chapter.
Is he gonna...
Returning Primarchs are a big deal. The return of Rabute Gilliman, that was an era-defining moment for the inhabitants of the 41st millennium and for fans of the 41st
Love
millennium.
that model.
It doesn't happen very often, and this is the second opportunity in my lifetime, certainly, to see a living Primarch return.
He's been deep in the rock for thousands of years. All is lost to chaos. But this is where the Lion appears. And this is where he makes his stand as a light in the dark, as a knight standing alone.
He grew up as a feral youth on a forested world full of monsters, and then taken in by knights after he'd spent years hunting down creatures of chaos. And that's pretty much what he's gone back to doing. He's found half of the galaxy completely subsumed by darkness, warp storms, chaotic beasts, so he's just set back to work.
Is he going to pick a fight with Gilliman for the throne?
You'd imagine, with the Dark Angels chapter, and woe betide anybody who finds themselves on the other side of the battlefield from them.
Definitely would paint this in traditional heresy colors. That model. Of course, heresy colors for his armor. Just seems right. Ooh. When is this gonna drop? Find out tomorrow. Man. Could have given us like a timeline like white 2023.
So, the Lion has returned. A brand new Primarch has returned to Warhammer 40,000 to the 41st millennium. Some of you predicted it. Some of saw it coming.
Dalarak predicted it for years.
You know.
And is he brand new or is he brand old? I can't tell.
He's been around. So he is pretty old. So we saw some of the people in the chat there commenting that he looks quite old. He is 10,000 years old.
He
so,
is. He hasn't been sitting comfortably in stasis for 10,000 years.
Yeah, it's probably on like a stone slab as well. So
it doesn't sound very comfortable, actually. I don't want to talk about that, Eddie, at this point in my life.
Fair enough. Well, so let's have a look at the miniature then. So we've got some shots of it. Absolutely phenomenal miniature. Early contender, I think, for miniature of the year. One of the most anticipated Warhammer models I think we've ever had the pleasure to reveal.
Does it come with a helmeted version too?
Inch of this
just because I'm really bad at painting faces.
Detail and iconography and just the raw, cool, gothic aesthetic of the Dark Angels.
It's been difficult for me to even fathom how we got to the point that it was designed in the way that it is, because it's stunning. And then nothing that I could have expected was actually fulfilled with it, because it was so much better than what I was imagining. And I gotta tell you, it was one of the better secrets of the studio.
Traditional armor.
Could not
the green underlines,
until I think
underpainting threw me off.
So it's been amazing to see the community get excited and make all the wild calls and whatnot. And of course, there was a video of a lion earlier today.
Yes, that's what got me excited.
So loads of really lovely details to talk about on this miniature. So we'll go through some of the highlights. So he's got a sword. He's got a brand new sword. So
he does seem to have one.
This is not the Lion Sword. The Lion Sword is still with Cypher around the galaxy somewhere. At some point, maybe they'll meet again, but it's not this day. But he has another blade, which is more than capable of cleaving monsters in half.
I don't know about that.
He's accompanied by two Watchers in the Dark. These are the kind of shadowy forms that follow key Dark Angels characters around.
I really like the model,
no
but
more significant
I don't know, the sword just
and they kind of whisper to him in the dark.
Doesn't seem epic enough.
About where he might best put his service to the Emperor and defeat the forces of chaos.
I do like the lion cloak he's got, the little lion paw.
He does. He is carrying the Emperor's shield. So that is the glorious golden Oromite shield carried by the Emperor and now carried by his son in much the same way that Guilliman wields the Emperor's sword. The Emperor
Guilliman's a punk.
Or maybe inherited the shield of the Emperor. So when he's fighting against the horrors of the galaxy, he can use the Emperor's shield to deflect the deadly blows that might even lay someone like him low. Other details on him there, you can see that the details on his armor are effectively scaled up, more ornate, elaborate versions.
The shoulder pad, the pauldron.
So he he's definitely still
I wonder if
fundamentally
that's
Space
hand
Marine. He's a
painted
leader
or
of a
if
Space Marine
that's
Legion, and all the iconography of the Dark Angels in some capacity is kind of incorporated
actual
into his
detail.
armor.
I actually think it's fascinating with the paint job as well that he's clearly got that green element of the Dark Angels, but there's sort of that original, sort of darker hue to the main armor plates as well going on.
I like that a lot. I didn't realize that
you
at
could
first.
certainly
I thought he
interpret
was
the
just
armor as
all
being
green.
black armor with a slightly green tinge to it.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Obviously, the green of the Dark Angels comes from the forests of Caliban. That's where that green color scheme comes from. And the black was kind of their original first Legion color. So the green of the Dark Angels Legion was incorporated when the Lion joined, basically. So it's a nice little touch that he's kind of got some of that hue into the paint scheme. I think we've got another shot of some more close-ups. So this might be my favourite thing actually about this. It's not my favourite thing about the kit, but there's so much cool stuff. But one of the cool things about it is that there are four different
heads.
Head options for the Lion.
That is
so
awesome.
You can sort of choose how you want your Lion to represent,
I really like the cloaked ones,
on the battlefield. So
but
you can have
open helm.
your unhelmeted head, so he's kind of there as the general of the forces, bellowing commands to his legion, his chapter.
Yes.
You can have the kind of hooded option, either with helmet or without, to have a much more mysterious kind of wandering knight errant sort of vibe.
The secrets of the Dark Angels.
Yeah, or you can go kind of full-on lion helm and have the winged helmet that's become synonymous with the Dark Angels over the years.
People are probably going to do really crazy and awesome conversions with this model.
Writ in the helmet of the of their Primarch. So some really cool options. And the Lion is a complicated character, right? So he's got a really interesting relationship with the Imperium, with his brothers, with his own chapter.
Yes,
with,
chapter's
his
very
commanders
mysterious.
under him. So he is this kind of multifaceted.
Some might be
individual
traitors,
personality, and you can,
but we don't talk about
you can
that.
kind of choose which of those you like and which ones you associate with, and make the model to fit.
You're already hinting at a few things about him. There are questions aplenty that even I have about the Arcs of Omen book itself. What is going on with the Lion in the current?
Yes, what's he
so
been up
this
to?
model comes out
Who woke him up?
alongside Arcs of Omen Book 5, which is the culmination of the Arcs of Omen series. The book is called Arcs of Omen: The Lion, and it will chronicle the finale of the story of the Arcs of Omen, which will see a huge showdown, effectively, between the forces of Chaos and the forces of the Imperium. On the Imperial side, you will have the Lion alongside some of the Dark Angels chapter.
I hope the model's not small. I hope he's
Dante,
a
and
big
have
boy.
Some blood angels. So some of the
Not
angels,
the
basically the angels of darkness,
primary size.
will stand against the forces of chaos. On the chaos side, you've got Abaddon, you've got Vashtor, you've got Angron. So it's going to be a huge showdown, effectively.
Big angry boy.
So on the screen right now, you can see kind of how the Lion scales up against some of the other key models that you'll see him alongside. So they're against an Intercessor, so you can see quite a lot bigger than a standard Space Marine. And against Reboot Gulliman, he's the same scale. So he is a Primarch, they are brothers.
Look the same scale.
Neither of them was known to be particularly larger than their brothers, so they are pretty much the same size. They're standard Primarch.
Everyday run-of-the-mill Primarch
Absolutely.
that you see around the corner on
he's
the usual
original and
Saturday
best,
mornings.
some would say, for the Lion.
Indeed, it's true. His rock looks a little less tactical.
If anyone is going to stand on a rock, it's going to be the Lion.
It does seem like what he does is a standard approach.
It's kind of
to
his
life.
jam, right?
Yes, his jam and his jelly.
Eddie, never without a good pun when it's needed.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a rock.
This is the artwork that comes on the cover of Arcs of Omen Book 5.
I like that. I like that a
kind
lot.
of close up on the Lion there. You can see that he has aged, basically. So as far as the narrative, the timeline is concerned, Gulliman has been in stasis for most of the last 10,000 years. So when he comes out, fresh-faced, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, maybe only a few centuries old, the Lion has literally been alive for all 10,000 years. So that's
he's
what
just
a
been
Primarch looks
asleep.
like.
Just a very long nap.
It's a really, really long cat nap.
Probably kept hitting the snooze button.
He does have that effect in the miniature as well. It's one of the things we saw people commenting on. He looks older, and the reality is, for those that didn't pick it up earlier, he is indeed quite a bit older.
He's pretty old. Yeah, he's pretty old. But he does have that kind of like ancient, venerable veteran knight errant sort of thing. So you can imagine that kind of character.
He's just missing Excalibur.
What happens in the Arcs of Omen basically is that he is wandering through the Imperium Nihilus, taking on monster hunting, basically, like picking up where he left off when he was a Knight of Caliban.
His primary calling.
Yeah, wandering out into the dark forests to take down the monsters that haunt the darkness.
And we saw that in his quote, his focus being on teaching them to fear the darkness in which they dwell.
Yeah. Here he is
I love
alongside
that quote.
Dark Angel's army, and you can kind of
Ooh,
see
big
how
boy.
he scales versus some of the other units. So, you know, he's looks pretty cool next to Redemptor Dreadnoughts and
I just
Intercessor units. and
don't like the
tanks.
sword. The sword just doesn't do
And his
justice
iconography and
for
colour
me.
scheme obviously kind of has a little bit of all of the bits.
Go
of Dark
away,
Angel, so if you want to
AirPods.
paint him, you could certainly
We're
add
not
some bone
interested.
colour, some black colour, some
You're
green,
heresy.
and
Go away.
have him as the absolute
Shoo.
centerpiece of a Dark Angel collection.
I'd be lying if I say I can't wait to see the Warhammer community post with all the different various guest authors painting.
Yeah, I think this is
variations
going to
of
be a
the line.
painter's treat. It's going to be a very, very cool model to paint up. There are some shots from Arcs of Omen Book 5. So we can see here the Dark Angels and the Blood Angels fighting against the forces of
Big stinky
forces of
guy in the
Chaos,
back.
Demons of Nurgle in this instance. One
Stinky
of the
boys.
things that there's some really, really cool stories in the last episode of the Arcs of Omen. So I don't want to spoil it because it's got some absolute huge twists and turns. Even for those who've followed Warhammer 40,000 for a long time, there's some really nice payoffs to some very, very long-running arcs.
It is all I can do not to try and prod you to tell them more about it, because Eddie's given me a bit of a rundown, and it's been hard for me to not just want to kibitz about it with every single Warhammer fan that I can come across now.
It's very, very cool. So if you like the lore and the narrative of Warhammer 40,000, if you've been following it for a long time, if you're a fan of the First Legion, which I am, I've got a Fallen Angels collection myself.
Traders.
It's
so,
funny though.
you know,
That's
I've
actually
got
the
mixed
first
feelings about the Lion, but he
first
is the
army
best
I
one.
have is Dark Angels.
I can't lie with that.
I got
No, we have
into
more to
the
talk about
Warhammer
this.
40.
We do, we
No,
got- we
this
should
is the
probably-
Lion
we should-
preview.
Seventh
Talk about
edition.
the Lion for the next hour, I think.
The
right?
last
The
thing though
7th
to say
edition
about
box
this
set.
is
Whoa.
that in the Arcs of Omen Book 5, the Lion will fight Angron. So
I want
we have a
that art.
situation,
I
two
really do.
brand new miniatures, two new Primarchs, both return to the 41st millennium. They will have a
Yes.
showdown in Book 5 of the Arcs of Omen.
I'm
So,
ordering this poster.
yeah.
Or behind me.
If you
So we got
if
Abaddon,
you are a Lion fan
Angron,
or a Angron fan, please let us know in the chat
Robot
who
Man,
you
the
who
Tau,
you're rooting for
and
in that particular
Yeah,
battle.
can we do
The
a
Lion.
poll there in the
But,
chat?
I mean, maybe.
We might be able to do
we'll
a
have
poll.
go.
Who should win or who will win?
Who will win?
Angron.
It has already been written, so you don't get to change it, but you can certainly
Yeah, you can
loudly.
guess what you want.
Oh, I
Right,
bet I
that's
know
not
who
it,
wins.
actually.